So Italy is about to head out this week, and you guys could be praying for them, that God would move powerfully in the city of Pescara. And our dear friend Dario has been texting me back and forth, and it's just been such a pleasure to talk to him. I think he's got big dreams. He really does want to plant a church someday, and you guys could certainly be praying for him as he prays through what is next for him and the team who's going to catalyze that city for the gospel. And also just that they would be a great blessing to that church. And then also just be praying for our future, where God has us and where He's taken us. It's so exciting to be a part of Japan and having ownership over this work here that we started in 2019. I know that we're talking to many people and just saying, what's next? What's next? What's God doing? We want to have our own work somewhere in Europe and Africa and other parts of Asia, and then South America too as well. God is doing great things here in Japan. And Feli ended up going to Doshisha University. He ended up talking to one of the guys there, and he brought him to Platform. And there's already been 7 people at the Platform just in Wednesday night alone. At the recording of this, I wish I could give you more information. I know they meet on Friday nights as well. It's just amazing. Our people are incredible. They keep inviting people to church on Sunday morning, Sunday night. The Platform's Wednesday and Friday, and so God's doing incredible things. But Feli was at Doshisha, brought the guy to the Platform, found out his parents were believers. His grandmother had been praying for him, but he didn't know. He wasn't sure whether he actually wanted to give his life to Jesus or not. But Feli just started talking with them, and one of the things he said was, "What's the fear of the Lord?" And we're like, what? This is exactly what God has been doing in our church and just been teaching us again what the fear of the Lord is. And so Feli's like, hey, this is what this is, and through the scriptures, and started taking him through the Gospel of John. And one of the cool things about this is that Koki, Naoki and Hiroko's son, and he's been with us this whole time. And in fact, he just stayed the night the other night. And so we're getting to know him, we're discipling him. And one of the things that he wants to grow in is he wants to grow in boldness. And so Anthony got to pray for him in one of the team times, and just that Koki would grow in boldness. So he told Feli, he said, hey, I'll take that guy. I'll go through the Gospel of John with him. And so it's so cool just to see, not only are our guys, of course, reaching, we've done that for so many years, but we're training and discipling their guys to do the same when we leave. One of the cool things about this trip is that our kids get to be a part of making disciples in the nations. And Ella and Julia and Taylor, they just got to go have a lunch at the bridge, and they started talking to a girl. In fact, Ella was actually the one talking to one of the girls there, and then Julia took over and just invited her to come to the bridge later that night to the Platform. She decided to come, and Benji stood up in front of everyone and just started sharing the full gospel with her, and sounded like she was receptive to it. But one of the things she said, she's like, how could you actually say that Jesus is the only way? Isn't that kind of rude, or isn't that kind of exclusive? And one of the things that they described is that, if you saw a tsunami, Japan knows about tsunamis. If you saw a tsunami coming and you didn't say anything, would that be unloving to say that you wouldn't actually try to reach somebody who's about to die or get washed away by the water? It's the same with the gospel. It is the most loving thing to say that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and the only way to the Father is to come through Jesus. And that is most loving because they're showing them the only way to eternal life. It's been fun to see people actually making disciples and doing multiple follow-ups, and I'm so proud of Isaac. Way to go, man. I'm sure you're going to be watching this Sunday morning because you just flew home. But he's been pursuing this man named Kitaro, and I think I'm pronouncing that right, but they've been playing Catan on and off and just meeting up together regularly, and they got into a more serious conversation afterwards. And one of the things that Kitaro was saying, just the pressure with school and being lonely, Isaac just got to bring out the Bible and say, we are loved, and we can love because Jesus loved us first. And because he was commenting on, hey, I don't know much about Christianity, but one thing I do know is that you guys love each other, and I could see that you guys are always together. And that's one of the things that we have noticed that the Japanese people have been saying, is that we don't know much about your religion, but what we do know is that you guys love each other. Isn't that what Jesus said in John 13, that they'll know that you are my disciples by the way you love each other? So way to go, guys, doing a great job. But when they got to the point where they said, hey, are you interested in giving your life to Jesus? And he said, hey, it just reminds me of something straight out of the Bible. He's saying, I don't know my dad, but I'm close to my mom. And what would happen if I give my life to Jesus and join Christianity, and then I give up my Shinto roots, that I won't be able to bury my mom? And it just reminded me of what Jesus says, that let the dead bury their own dead, you know? And so just be praying for him that he would come around and being discipled and getting to know a lot of the guys, but give his life to Jesus eventually and become a disciple of Jesus and make disciples of all nations. And so let's be believing and praying for those things, because we're not done yet until we see people saved. We are reaching the nations here in Japan, and it's just so cool that Alexis was at the Bridge Cafe, and she was just having coffee and met this Korean woman who came to Japan just to figure out her life in God. She was wondering what the next steps were, and so they got talking, and then she invited this girl to the platform, and then from there she's like, I love you guys, I want to be a part of this. And so she started coming to the teen times, and she's been, I don't know how many she came to, but like 2 or 3, and she's just been loving it. I mean, she's shaking her head when you're preaching, and she's getting around the room, people are praying for her. It's just cool to just see that we are reaching the nations, not just the Japanese and trying to build HPC, but also building the believers, building the body up around the world. Connor was down by the river and he met a guy. He said, I don't even know why I'm Shinto. And so Connor started sharing the gospel with him, and one of the things he did was that he said, hey, afterwards, I'd love you to come to the Bridge and do what was called a platform. And the guy was just shocked. He said, I can't believe that you actually asked me to be a part of something. No one does that. No one does that around here. Just the power of an invitation in evangelism. You never know. One of the things that I have is like a big picture aerial view of just the countless, dozens and dozens of testimonies that are coming in. And one thing I notice is that there's just the power of an invitation to just say, would you come? Would you come with me to the Bridge, or would you come with me to our church or life group? Don't be afraid. Don't give in to the fear of man. God will work through your invitation and bring someone. And they might be shocked that, you know what, someone does love them and is pursuing them. Corey met a guy at Unite from China. One of the things they were striking up a conversation, just again, how loving this church is, and just this guy who knew nothing really about Christianity was just observing the whole room and people praying for one another. And Corey came up to him and was just like, the reason why we do this is because the Bible says to do this. And from Acts 2:42 to 47, that we're called to be a family. And he said, hey, in China, they're telling us to hate one another. And just most of the people I'm around are just so hateful, but man, this is such a contrast that people are so loving here. And then afterwards, Corey invited him to a platform, and so just could be praying that he would come and be a part of this church. So Claudia was volunteering at the cafe, and it's just cool to see that, she's coming in and was a barista back at home, and she's coming in to volunteer. And one of the things she said to Koki was that, do you know that you can actually reach people in your workplace? And she said that to Naoki-san too, and they're both like, yeah, I know we're supposed to go and reach people outside the Bridge, but never thought about actually reaching coworkers inside the Bridge. And so it's pretty cool just to see that that's how God's using Claudia. She's passionate about coffee, she's passionate about serving people, and so she's getting the opportunity to make disciples in the nations. This is a really cool story, guys. Phil got to share with me just some of the backstory, but there was a college student who came to church on Sunday, and I asked him questions like, who is this guy and how did he come? And Phil got to explain that Erica, who is a part of HBC, and she's been a part of HBC actually since the day that we planted the church 6 years ago. One of the things that she felt really convicted about is that when she got to watch our people share the gospel and be so bold and open, she felt convicted in her own classroom. She's a university teacher, a professor there, and she was like, man, I really got to reach out. Lord, would you provide an opportunity? And one of the students just simply asked, what are you doing this weekend? And she's like, well, here's the opportunity. I guess I should say I'm going to church. And so she's like, I'm going to church. Would you like to come? And so he had decided to come, and Naoki-san was preaching this last Sunday, and gave a gospel invitation and just said, hey, would you raise your hand and then stand up if you want to give your life to Jesus? And he totally understood the gospel. Naoki came up to him, started praying with him. He accepted Jesus, which is so cool. His name is Wataru, and please be praying for him. They gave him a Bible. He ended up staying for lunch. He ended up then coming to Sunday night meeting later on, and Koki and the team are trying to meet up with him weekly now to disciple him. Mike, I know you preached on generosity last week, and way to go, man, with that. We got to see a cool story this week where Grace, one of our base team members, she was just saying, I don't want to leave this. I'm on a 3-week base team, but I want to do the full 6 weeks. And so we started talking about how maybe that could work out. And she needs some extra cash to stay the whole time for food and accommodations. And one of the girls that's rooming with her, she just said, hey, I would actually love to pay for you to stay. And so just love the generosity here. And she was a little worried about her boss too as well, but she stepped out in faith and texted her boss at Chick-fil-A back at home. And the boss just said, "Are you kidding me? Enjoy Japan, don't worry about it. You have a job when you come home." So way to go, Grace, way to step out in faith. And it's just, hopefully that stirs your faith, that if God puts something in your heart, believe him, that he will provide everything you need above and beyond. One of the words that we got when we first started here was that the first 2 weeks would be planting seeds, the second 2 weeks would be watering the seeds, and the third 2 weeks would be bringing in the harvest. You guys could be praying for that, but we're about 4 weeks in and we're already starting to see the seeds being watered. And not only just with the people that we're meeting on the streets, but also HPC, we're starting to see a level of fruit and some movement, and just the hunger in the people, and then them wanting to go out and make disciples too as well. One of the members, Koki, he is so hungry. He's almost at every one of our meetings. He's asking questions. He's staying the night at our place. And one of the things I asked him, I was like, "Hey, Phil and Jade, we're gonna be going to this meeting in Thailand with a bunch of pastors and missionaries, and with one of the girls here named Alex from another church in Houston. She's a part of this team at HPC. And we just said, "Hey, would you like to come with us to Thailand?" And he said, "Yeah, absolutely." So Benji bought his tickets and he's coming with us. And so it's just cool to see that Phil and Jade already are assembling a small team of people who are serious about making disciples. Not only that, but then Naoki that night, we got it together and talked about, "Hey, what are your next year plans? What are the summer plans that you have?" He's like, "Well, I don't really know. You're gonna send a team, or we'd love to have you guys again." But one of the things he said was that he's gonna go down to Malaysia and try to plant a Japanese church, because there's a bunch of Japanese companies that are coming to the south of Malaysia, right there by the Singapore border and across the bridge in Johor. And one of the things that he's just been saying, he's like, "Man, we need more churches." And he has a contact there that said the Japanese need a church there. They've relocated because of jobs. And so I think they're gonna try to take their church on mission this next summer. So you guys could be praying for that. Certainly exciting things. Maybe we can even be a part of that as a church as well. All right, guys, well, I have an update. I didn't know if we were gonna get it in time, but it's Friday night here at the recording, and Benji just sent me a text saying that 3 new people from Outreach came to the platform, so that's 10 total this week. Honestly, I think that might be a record for these life groups that we've done in the past. And so just so thankful for all your prayers back at home, what's going on in the prayer room, and then just also the efforts and the boldness of our people. Koki spent the night, and at the breakfast table in the morning, we did a family devotional in the fear of the Lord. And one of the cool things he mentioned towards the end, when we were just talking about how worry can affect us, and how worry is just a form of control and just making us think, it's an illusion, but making us think that we have some sort of control. When we worry, we feel like we have some sort of control over the situation that feel out of control in. And so we went around the room and we just said, "Hey, what are some of the things you're worried about, and some of the ways that you can be praying through your anxieties and come out the other side with peace?" And one of the things he said was that he was just struck by how our people, he's like, "Man, what I love about Orlando and the observations that I'm making is that you guys take seriously the command to pray. That a lot of you guys are riddled with fear, or whether it's evangelism or other areas that you've been open with, and you pray, and then on the back end, you experience the peace and the joy." And then the second thing he said was that the Japanese people, he's like, "We're kind of shallow in relationship, but you guys are so deep. Right away, you're asking, 'What are you reading? What's God doing in your life?'" And he's like, "I don't know." And he's just like, "I love that about you guys. I love the fact that you guys go deep right away, and you take initiative in people's lives, and you want to be vulnerable, and you want to build fellowship." And so, way to go, church. That's a culture that you guys live out, and it's making a difference around the world. One of the cool things that we've been seeing is people who are dreaming with God again. They're praying, they're worshiping, they're relying on the Spirit. It's been a lot, people have been coming alive in God. It's one of the things they've been saying is one of their favorite times is to come in and persevere in worship and prayer. It says in Psalm 132, it says, "Until I find a place for the Lord, a dwelling place for the mighty one of Jacob. Let us go into his dwelling place. Let us worship at his footstool, and let your godly ones sing for joy." There is joy erupting when we're relying on the Spirit of God, when we're praying and loving one another, we're worshiping God with all of our hearts, when we're believing God says in Isaiah 64 that rend the heavens and let your tremble at the presence of God. And we're just seeing just a really like kind of a micro move of God just happened right in front of our eyes. And we're like, man, we got to bring this back home. And I feel like we forgot a lot about this. This is our roots. This is who we are. The guys who have been with us for a long time are like, man, we're getting back to our roots. And the new guys are like, man, we've never done this before. Like, I want to be in the presence of God. God's bringing so many things up, and it's not to reject us, but to perfect us and to transform us in the image of God. And so I love this, that he has provided. It's like we will not give God rest until we see him build a dwelling place for himself. And you know what, guys, it's right there off McCulloch, right there off LFA and McCulloch. We have a prayer house. And if God provided it, let him fill it. And so I encourage you to come this summer, even when we're gone, and just fill the prayer room and begin to get on your face and pray and intercede and see God move. You won't regret it.